Let me go ahead and preface this by saying that this video is going to be more geared towards the guys that have this truck in stock form. If you've got a Kyosho Outlaw Rampage Pro or the Pro Kit, this video is probably not going to help you out much at all. If you're like me and you run your truck pretty hard. My experience, no amount of preload on the front shocks keeps it from rolling over. I have tuned and I have tuned and I have tuned, and every time you throw it into a hard corner, either left or right, the truck wants to nosedive and the rear suspension follows it, and the next thing you know, it's up on its lid or on its side. I have been trying some stuff with mine as of late, but I believe I've found a way to keep it from nosediving as bad. It's not foolproof, but it does keep it from nosediving as bad, and I just wanted to share this stuff with you guys. Also, you guys that have this truck know these parts here. I'm sure this is the stock steering arms for this rig, which are plastic and are not foolproof. And what I'm finding is that the ends for the captured ball, be it on the knuckles down at the wheels or up at the steering block, have a tendency, or at least mine have started to wallow out, and it gives it a lot of slop in there as far as steering. So my truck at one point was running across the yard, and both of the tires on the front end were towed out, and there was nothing I can do. And I've got a simple fix, super cheap, if not free, both of these. So I'm going to yank the body off of this and let's dive into it. As you can tell, I'm still running the ready to run shocks. I haven't made any drastic changes to those. They work well. They don't leak. I can't see any reason to change them at this point. The only thing that I've done to the front shocks is I have, as you can see here, I have all kinds of preload in that front end. Let me swing her around and try to get you guys a better shot here. But you can tell I've got the preload collars turned down way far, and it was still allowing that truck to nosedive. And it was really frustrating. And so what I did is super simple. I'm not going to claim that this is a fix-all, cure-all kind of thing, but I can tell you it works for me, and I haven't had to order any parts. The only thing that I did to mine was make a set of external limiters for the shock shafts themselves. And what I mean by that is this. The only thing I used was a little bit of nitro fuel tubing. And I simply took it and cut off a piece about a 1/2 inch for each side, and then disassembled the shocks, slid this over the shock shaft on the outside, then put the shocks back together, squeeze the shock to set everything in place, put the shock back on your truck on both sides, and it completely changes everything. This stuff has enough give in it that it still allows the rebound. If you air the truck out and it comes down from a jump, it's not going to kill it. It's not going to hurt it at all. It's not going to bend the shafts. It is going to compress somewhat and still allow that truck to react the way it's supposed to act. As you can see right there is what I'm talking about. There's one on each side. Trust me when I tell you that it changed the way this truck reacts on a track. In the video that I uploaded the other day, at the beginning of it, you saw where I was throwing this truck around in a corner. And that's all I was doing, was just basically testing it to see if it was going to, compress and roll over. And it never did. It never did. Now, I do not have anything on the rear right now. The rears are completely open. They do have a fair amount of preload, as you can see. But it seems to act great. It's completely changed it. And if you're looking for a cheap way to get the truck to handle in stock form, now this is not for the pro, like I said, but in stock form, give this a shot and see what you think. The other issue I was having was with the stock plastic steering arms. This one actually has a little bit of a bow in it, but the ball ends started to get, they were extremely loose and had a lot of slop in them. So this is what I did. If you're like me and you have a lot of parts left over from different kits, go back through them. This is pretty much what I use. Now, this is not for this truck. This is just to show you. This is nothing other than a Tamiya rod threaded on both ends with 2 Tamiya rod ends. Now, I've had 2 that were in my part stuff that I used to make my own steering rods. All I did was set a rod end, set the actual metal rod shaft in there, and then set another rod in and just twisted them down to where they met, or where they matched these completely, and then threw them on the truck. Now, I had to use a Tamiya end at the servo, and then the 2 rods that I used were just a little bit short, but I had some Losi rod ends that I used for the outside where they, for the knuckle. But it's the same principle. You can make these things for nothing, absolutely nothing. This works exceptionally well for me, and it straightened out my truck's toe out, and it's rock solid. The one I made, this is for the passenger side of the truck. The driver's side, you know, obviously has the matching parts. When it's compressed or whatnot, it doesn't toe in, toe out. Everything stays true, and completely changed the handling on this thing. So I'm having to learn how to drive it again, which is kind of wild, but super cheap. If you've got this stuff in your parts bin, give it a shot, man. Those Tamiya rod ends fit the stock rod ends on this Kyosho truck with no problem. There's no fitment issues, and it could save you a few bucks. Just have to get out there and put a little time in it, and completely change the game as far as a first generation or ready to run Kyosho Outlaw Rampage. Like I said before, is it a cure-all, fix-all? Absolutely not. But I'm telling you right now, it'll take that sloppy crap out of the suspension on that truck and tighten it up to where you can actually be competitive with a bunch of guys out bashing, or if you're racing even. Super cheap. And yeah, hope you guys are great. Take good care, and we'll see you later.